Well, Jake, it's time for the show, man. You ready?
I'm ready.
You think they can tell that we're sitting down?
I think so. This week
we already got very small.
We're in front of our computers this week again.
Indeed. Well, look, let's face it. We're halfway home. We're starting to get a clearer picture of Valley High School football, and we're going to talk about the whole thing today. Impressions so far, halfway home for the regular season.
Well, I think we had a good glimpse of how some teams that we thought were probably one of the perennial powerhouses maybe aren't as good as we think they are. They may need some work. There's some weaknesses, and I think we've seen how some teams are really good.
Well, 5 unbeaten teams, and 4 of them are in 5A. Who's the best unbeaten 5A team in the Valley?
I'm going to say it right now. I think I actually was going to say Edinburgh North.
Yeah.
But Edinburgh High showed me some weaknesses in that team last week.
They did.
So I have to go with Harlingen now because.
Harlingen is not undefeated, but they may be the best 5A team in the Valley. That's what kind of a season it is, right?
Yeah.
What about Harlingen South then?
Well, I think Harlingen South is a really good team.
185-7.
If they don't have Jaden Taylor in the lineup, they're a very ordinary team.
Yeah.
They got some great weapons, but they're ordinary.
Yeah. They need Jaden Taylor to go all the way. What about Sharyland? They've given up 17 points all year, and they just literally took out Economides 54-0.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see. I want to see them. Well, I guess we're going to see them in a couple of weeks when when they play Donna, when they play Edinburgh North. I think that's when we're really going to see them at their best because they're a great team. They can throw the ball and run the ball, but I want to see them against the nitty-gritty teams of 35A.
Fair enough. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the other unbeaten 5A team, McAllen, man. The Bulldogs halfway home at 5-0. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole new philosophy there. I'm amazed. Ricky Rodriguez is
he's a horse, and caballo.
They're riding him. I mean, they're literally riding him.
4 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing well. The team's playing well. It's a different team. It's different than the spread.
Yeah, it sure is. Hover threw 9 times the other day in the win against East. Now, the other unbeaten team, obviously, is Port Isabel. They had a pretty good challenge, I think, in Gruya, and they passed it.
Yeah, I mean, they look really good, and Gruya also looked good. I think you can pretty much say Gruya is could make some headway in the playoffs.
They can win. Really they can win that district. Now, let's talk a little bit about points because I added up the number of points scored by the winning teams last week. 33. There's a lot of offense out there. Why is that the case?
Well, I don't want to say that the defenses aren't to snuff, but I think the offenses right now are better than a lot of the defenses. I mean, minus a couple teams, a lot of the offenses are just walking through teams.
Yeah, we'll watch those highlights in a minute. We're going to see some of it. I always thought that the offense was a step ahead of the defense anyway, just by the nature of the fact that it knows where it's going. The defense's job is to react, to stop the offense from coming forward. Defense is harder to play. I really feel that.
Yeah. And a lot of teams, I think you've seen it, they're going to a no huddle.
Yeah.
They're coming up to the line. They're doing that thing where they come to the line, they kind of look, check with the coach, and actually run the play. It sucks if you're running a camera.
Yeah, it is. It's like all of a sudden you get ready for the play, and then but that's okay. That's how they do it, man. In the old days, they ran the single wing, and the people, before then thought that was crazy. No big deal. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to go district by district. A lot of interesting highlights. That Los Fresnos team is getting up and down the field. Any other observations halfway home? Nobody's quite out yet, but some teams are starting to float off into the stratosphere, and they need to get a win this week.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're seeing right now, you're seeing there's some parity across the board.
Oh, very much so.
And I think in about a week and a half, or 2 weeks, we're going to see, the cream rise to the top.
That's the way it generally works in high school football anywhere, guys. So let's do what we normally do is take a look back at some of the things that happened, and then we'll proceed on district by district. Carlos, you're on.
Thanks, guys, and we start in 31-5A in McAllen, West Loco East versus Mac High. Saul Cuellar scores here for the Wildcats, and it's 7-0 East Side on top. But McAllen comes back thanks in part to Ricky Rodriguez. Watch him right here. He will actually pick up the fumble, and then he will take off running and scoring a touchdown. He had 4 touchdowns in that football game, 180 yards rushing. McAllen Bulldogs remain undefeated, winning by a final score of 28-20. At PSJA, the Bears versus the Raiders. Rivalry game here. Jesse Navarro at quarterback, looking to pass right here. Instead, he says, you know what? I'm going to take off, scrambling and running 77 yards. He ran for 125 yards, passed for 120, and the Bears win it by a final score of 13-7. Weslaco versus PSJA Memorial and Victor Cardoza for the Panthers. He gets into the end zone here at 7-0 Panthers. Eric Gonzalez had 109 yards rushing. Panthers win a close one by a final score of 14-7. McAllen Row at San Benito. Dylan Castillo, 2 touchdown passes. Here's one to Javier Ortiz, and San Benito bounces back with a big victory, 41-28. Over Rowe. In 35, a big game here for Sherryland. 445 yards of total offense. Sean Landes, the touchdown. Then here's Diego Chrysler again to Christian Martinez. 59 yards. 54-0. Rattlers win this one. Edinburgh versus Edinburgh North. Bobcats leading at the half, 10-7, until John Silva picks this one off and he scores. Cougars winning by a final score of 22-10. Robert Vela High School down at the half to Juarez Lincoln, 3-0, until Genaro Cavazos, he gets busy. 2 touchdowns for him in the second half. Also, 212 yards rushing. Vela wins it by a final score of 14-3. In 32-5A, Los Fresnos at Brownsville Lopez. Here is a kickoff return. Watch this man. Breaking tackles, breaks 2 right there, and the Falcons win it in a shootout, 59-35. In 32-4A at Mission, Mercedes versus Veterans. Rene Presas, 443 yards passing. This one to Roel Garcia. Josh Garza, 305 yards of receiving yards. The touchdown here tied the game. The extra point was good, and the Tigers win it big time, 36-35. Ed Calchosa at Roma, and Israel Loredo scores this one. He ties the game at 14. In overtime, Loredo again, this time scrambling, looking for a hole, 14 yards. EE escapes with a victory, 20-14 in double overtime. Rio Grande City versus PSJ Southwest. The Rattlers score here, winning 34-0. And Port Isabel versus Grulla. The battle of the unbeatens. It's Isaiah Martinez to Miguel Martinez, and PI wins it by a final score of 20-7.
Well, Carlos, as usual, man, you laid it out for us in fine fashion. I hope that everybody's able to watch those. In fact, I might want to turn them on and watch them again. When you watch a second and third time, you see things, you see blocks that you didn't see the first time.
Especially, in the Ed Couch game, you get to see Isaac Martinez.
Oh, man, he drove that guy all halfway to the border, man. That was an incredible play. Well, let's go 31-5A, man, the black and blue division that we like to call it. And let's stick with the game we mentioned earlier, McAllen against Weslaco East. What was the key to that ball game?
Well, I think, what you saw in that game was Ricky Rodriguez.
He's a great back.
And they rode him. They didn't throw the ball that much. Hoover didn't throw the ball that much. They didn't have to. But I also think that you saw that Weslaco East, they had when they threw the ball, it didn't work out as much as they were probably hoping.
Yeah,
they needed to spread it out.
Andrew Martinez and Marcos Correa, fourth quarter interceptions, so 2 turnovers for East. They don't like to have to come back throwing the ball. The other thing is I've been noticing this in the Valley this year. They got an extra point block, and there's been a lot of placement problems. We'll talk about Mercedes and Mission Vets in a minute. You got to get those kicks down. But in order to get the kick down, you have to get the snap, and you have to get the hold. I think the best holder is Matt Ramirez from Edinburgh North. Watch him sometime. He is so easy and smooth. He doesn't panic. The guy's on top of him. He's just got great hands. Baseball player.
Yeah, soft hands. Yeah, soft hands.
So McAllen at 5-0, I'd say that's a surprise team in the Valley. Probably not to them. They're like, hey, we knew. But anyway, they're 5-0. They're off this week. And now, who does Weslaco East play? PSJA. That's interesting because the Bears rebounded.
Yeah, the Bears scored early, scored quick. Big plays.
Yeah.
But
then not again for them.
They didn't do anything after that. That's one of those things they have to kind of be, watching for because, it's something that they need to fine tune because they can't do that against, better teams.
So 13-7, they beat PSJ North. PSJ North drops to 0-5, and I'm going to keep continuing to insist that they will find a way to make it happen. We knew that rivalry game would be too close, though. There's no way that was going to be a blowout because PSJ North really wanted to win that game. They're neighboring rivals, as it were. So you think East has a pretty good chance against PSJ? They need to rebound.
Yeah, they do, unless they fall back, fall behind, late in the game. If it's, the end of the third quarter and they're down, 10 points,
Yeah.
it's a little bit harder because they're going to have to press or have to throw the ball.
Sooner or later, they're going to have to complete some passes. And I have a feeling that they will. You know, let's face it, man, McAllen is on a roll, and that team just got it done. 28-21 or 28-20. Now, what about Weslaco and Rowe this week? Weslaco gets a win 14-7 over PSJ Memorial, and Rowe was doing pretty well against San Benito, but when Justin Owens went out, that was the air out of the balloon.
Yeah, we have to find out if Owens is going to be back.
Boy, I sure hope he's not hurt bad.
It's a different team without him there.
Yeah.
You know, it really is, because what happened at the after the third quarter,
Yeah.
you know, with them.
They tied it up at 28, and usually you can't outscore Rowe. But when they lost their offensive horse, San Benito, man, put 41 points on the board. Pretty proud of that team. Dylan Castillo, he made a big throw. They recovered a fumble in the end zone. They're being opportunistic. San Benito was back in the race.
Yeah, they are. Well, and especially in that district, because
everybody's in the race.
There's a lot of parity in that district.
Now, San Benito has PSJ North this week. Okay, this is your trap game, because a winless team, sooner or later, you got to think they're going to find a way to win. San Benito coming off a couple of big wins. They've got to keep it going, modulate, play ball, and get that second win.
Yeah, they can't
third.
let what happened to them against PSG Memorial happen against North, because against PSG Memorial, they just gave up. They dropped the ball, or not dropped the ball, fumbled the ball away, lost the ball away.
Lost the ball away. So PSJ Memorial now, you know, has started to play better football, man. They're in these games. They could have taken out Weslaco. Now they get on the road on Thursday and take a Memorial team from McAllen that is having some trouble but had the off week, and I bet you they're going to come out pretty fired up.
Yeah, I think Coach Littleton, he's tweaked everything that he needed to tweak, because they've lost some close games. They haven't had very good success with the passing game.
Right.
You know that they just worked that this week.
Well, bottom line is, okay, so you're halfway home overall, but you're only 2 or 3 games in district. This is going to be, like you said earlier, kind of that separation week where we start to be able to put points on a curve along. Okay, for 3 weeks, if they do this, then that means they're doing that. It wasn't luck, it wasn't maybe, it wasn't the opponent. This is a huge week. So we're looking at 31-5A. Let's go back to that East game against McAllen, because your favorite girl and mine,
Onela,
is going to be out there, and she was out there, and let's see what happened, because when she's involved, it's always kind of a silly and fun thing.
Young men and women.
Hey guys, I'm Oneda Guerra with 956sports.com. I am so excited. As soon as I stepped into the field, I can feel the energy from the Weslaco East Wildcats and the McAllen Bulldogs. Let's go check out some action. I found the perfect seat to enjoy the game, guys. So how about we show a little school spirit?
All right. Hey everybody!
For Homecoming Queen. How excited are you?
I'm very excited.
Well, you're a senior, right? So how excited are you to be graduating and all these things?
It's been such an amazing year so far, and I just can't wait for all of the festivities to come. And getting nominated for Homecoming Queen is just such an honor. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your results.
Okay, so I heard you guys are going to be singing the national anthem tonight. How exciting is that?
It's very exciting to sing in front of all the classes that are coming to be here, all the reunions, and all of our student body.
So can y'all give us a little taste of what y'all got?
As one we lift our voices, in unison we say, Hail, hail, McAllen High.
That was awesome. That was really good. Y'all gave me chills. So now let's go check out what the guys have.
We have All-State tomorrow. It's like a competition like amongst all the city and stuff, so it's really cool.
How exciting! Yet you're still going to be using your voice tonight. Are you sure about that?
School spirit, man. You can't replace it. It's awesome.
Hey, we got a home game. Why not? Come on. Gotta support our team.
I don't know if y'all can tell, but she's the only one wearing white. So why are you wearing white?
Because I'm captain of the stepper team.
And what exactly does that mean?
It means just being in charge of everything, leading the girls and having a positive attitude and just having a bunch of school spirit.
Over the past few months.
ROT's here, and they support the community, they support the school, they do a variety of things, service learning projects, senior citizens home.
So now we're on the east side. No, really, it's the east side. So I'm here with Chelsea, which I happen to know you do boxing as well as cheerleading?
Yes, I do.
What is this, for competitions or?
Boxing? Yes, it's for competition. competitions. I compete like out of state and everything, and yeah, it's like my hobby and stuff. So yeah.
Would you like to pursue that?
Yeah, I would. I would actually like to go pro, maybe for like one fight or something. You know, just to see how it is, just to get the taste of it.
Number 1.
Going back up to my seat to finish enjoying this awesome game. I'm Oneida Guerra with 956sports.com, and I'm going there with Bulldog Nation.
Over 9 in second down.
Well, appreciate that, Miss Guerra. It's always nice to see you out and about and making friends. She's good at that.
Yeah, she is. She's very personable.
Well, it was not a personable night when Edinburgh High got together with Edinburgh North. That was an intense defensive football game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think what you saw in that game was Edinburgh basically controlled the first 3 quarters.
Did well.
And North just took over in the 4th.
Yeah, there was, and it started in the 3rd with John Silva's interception return for a touchdown. Here's the thing. North kept pounding field position on EHS, and they had to kick out of their end zone. They'd be at their own 5. I mean, they put pressure on the punter like crazy. They just kind of drove them back. EHS hit its usual big plays, stayed in the ballgame, and had every right to think they could have won.
Yeah, and their defense played.
Oh, they played great, man.
So, but the problem was the offense just couldn't consistently keep a drive going, and the defense was on the field the majority of the night.
Yeah, and I think it wore down. That had North had a 90-yard drive. They were up 14-10, I believe it was. Yeah, 14-10. No. When North took the lead. When North took the lead, then they went on a 90-yard drive. It had been a 90-play drive. Yeah, it took 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And they just kind of wore them down. So I think that's when you start to see the physicality of North, which is probably that team's strong suit, come into play. Edinburgh has to be really pleased. North had 90 yards in penalties. They had 3 turnovers in the first half, and a couple of interceptions, lost a fumble, but they found a way to win the ball game in a big-time city rivalry game, and they got it done. Now they go to Donna. They better not play that inconsistent at Donna. They'll get beat if they do.
I think Edinburgh showed a blueprint, and we're going to talk about it. In this district, I saw some games last week where the teams that were playing showed blueprints on how to beat the other teams, because last week, Edinburgh just stymied that awesome running attack of Edinburgh North.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't really get any of those big, huge plays that they normally
Whiteside had 91, and 58 was on one run. I think Adrian had 15 for 48. In other words, they didn't give them much. They ended up with 292, but there were a couple of huge plays. Matt Ramirez, 75-yard touchdown on the second play of the game.
Yeah.
Here's how the game started. North throws the bomb, the prettiest pass you'll ever see, 7-0. Uh-oh. It didn't end up that way. Edinburgh came back. They got a field goal. They took the lead 10-7. Heck of a football game. The diametrically opposed to the one I'd seen the night before, which is Mercedes and Vets were getting to. But it was a good old-fashioned defensive slugfest. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard hitting.
Oh, man.
Just smackdown. It was great. The one thing I can say is that Edinburgh was able to basically dare Edinburgh North to throw the ball, and they didn't really throw the ball well, except for the second
one
play.
Play and then a couple down the road, but no, they didn't, and they're going to have to do that against Donna, because I think Donna's getting healthy at the right time. And did you check out what they did to Palmview, man? 24 out of 27 points off the turnovers, a blocked punt. Anthony Gonzalez goes 88 yards with a kickoff for a touchdown. So Donna's playing well right now.
Yeah, they are real well. I think that Donna, especially with that, they've already had their bye week.
Yeah.
So they've had some time to kind of right the ship. And
they've tinkered.
I think that they're in position right now to actually make a run at Edinburgh North and Sherryland.
Aldo Silva is back. He rushed for 100. So they've got plenty of weapons. They're making a lot of things happen on defense. I think potentially it could be a lot like EHS and North. It could be a really good defensive game. Now, where does EHS go from here?
Well, EHS has to play Vela. And
3-2 Vela, who, by the way, is in 4th right now. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. How do you like them?
Yeah. And I think last week, Juarez Lincoln showed, and I was at that game. I know you were at the Vets game on Thursday. I got to see Juarez, who I hadn't seen live. Martin Diaz. I got to see him play. They can move the ball when they threw to the flats.
Right.
They had a hard time running in the inside with Vela, and Vela has a very good, they can,
linebacker John Trevino, 14, man, you come up.
And, they got a great team.
Yeah, so they're 3-2. They got Edinburgh High. nobody wants to be the first team to lose to the SaberCats. This is going to be a good ball game, I think.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to see is and Vela has Chemo Cavazos or Renato Cavazos.
He's such a clutch kid.
Yeah.
Such a clutch kid. So they're down at the half. What does he do? He breaks off an 86-yard touchdown run. Yeah. There's your anecdote right there, man. Or antidote, as it were.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing that Edinburgh is really good at stopping.
Yes,
the
they
run.
are.
So I think what we're going to see is another defensive battle. I think we're going to see a lot of penalties.
Yeah, why? A lot of fighting? You say they're going to get some fights?
Yeah, you know how it is.
But is there going to be a frozen bobcat in this mix this year?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I have a feeling they're not going to do that hijinks.
All I know is if you're going to do the stuff like last year, there's a V.
Yeah,
it really looked like a V in the field at Edinburgh.
What did it look like? Kind of like a U?
I'm not sure, but
like a bobby pin that's been bent, or
yeah. I mean, some students have modifications, maybe
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to do it better.
Is that in the Common Core?
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, so that's going to be a fun game. Economidi staying in town needs to get back on track because they got whipped by Sharyland. There's no two ways to say it.
Yeah, they've got to do something because they're not the same team that started the year.
Well, I say that you're probably right, although I would remind people the two teams that have shut them out are two of the best teams in South Texas, right? Two of the best defenses, right? Edinburgh North beat them 20-0, and Sharyland. That Sharyland defense, I've gotten a chance to look at their film. Aguayo's a big defensive tackle. I like him a lot. This Aaron Sterna, set in the 42, is making a lot of plays. Gerardo Davila, that's very hard to say, but I pull it off. Ran an interception back for a touchdown. Landes, made it into the box scores. He's playing both ways now.
Yeah.
Sharyland's good, man. And who do they play next? Sharyland's got who? Oh, they got Ad Lincoln. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see if Lincoln's able to move the ball against that Sharyland defense, which has given up, what, 17 points?
Yeah.
Something like that?
And Sharyland's fast.
Yeah, very fast.
Both sides of the ball. What Juarez had to face against Vela, they're going to have that, but it's going to be supersized.
Yeah, it'll come at them quicker. Yeah. Sharyland's got like 10 receivers who can all catch.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. Oh, well, now we can't get away from Sharyland without mentioning Diego Chrysler, 12 out of 16, 4 touchdowns. Lance Madden got hurt. Chrysler played the rest of the way, and he did a good job.
Yeah, he did. Real good job. I think what you're going to see from that team is that no matter who they put at QB, I think they're going to be okay.
Now, Economidis comes back on Thursday against La Jolla. La Jolla's had his troubles. This is what you call a get-well game for the Jags, because I still believe that team has a chance to be in the race. In fact, they're not out of it yet. Psychologically, though, man, getting pounded a couple of times like that, they just got to turn the page and move on. They got to pound somebody, and it may be La Jolla, it may not, but it would be nice for them if it were.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those games where, when we talk about riding the ship, getting things right, fine-tuning stuff, this is that game. It's a feel-good game.
So if you win, you're 2-2, right? No, let's see. If you win, Economidis would then be 2-2. You're fine, because that means you can go one game over 500 and make the playoffs. I would suggest that maybe even 4-4 gets you in. You don't want to start lowballing it like that and saying, well, if we don't win, you want to win this game in front of you. See the media and some of the fans, we talk about this week and that week, they're just worried about La Jolla. They're looking at La Jolla films. They got the JVs or the freshmen run La Jolla's offense. They're not worried about the playoffs right now. They just want to play good football this week. I feel like Economidis come back strong.
I think so too. I think this is a great game for them to have right now. I don't want to say it's like a bye week, but
they need it, man. They need to get back on track. Anytime you get beat 54-0, man, you got to get through with that quick, because that's no fun.
No.
Well, let's go back, and we'll circle back to Sharyland for a second, because we're going to talk about our scholar athlete. We told you that they have about 27 good receivers. Brandon Goddess is one of them, and apparently he's been exemplary in all ways this semester, and we wish him the best. Let's hear a little bit about him.
Sports has always been important to Brandon Garza.
I play 3 sports. I go to football, and then right after football I go straight to basketball. Right after that I go straight to baseball.
And thanks to his parents, school has always come first.
Ever since my first grade, my mom's a school teacher, so she's always on top of me and getting things done, especially my schoolwork first. And then my dad too, he's a professor at UTBA.
Garza this year has all A's and 1 B in a schedule that includes AP classes and college courses. It's a grueling schedule for this senior.
School's tough trying to fit all that in with their sports activities, and I just try my hardest. I stay up as long as I have to just to study for my classes.
In the future, Garza would like to continue to be around sports, and that is why when he goes to college, he will study health science.
I'm getting more into the health science field because I want to major in that, probably a PT or a chiropractor when I go to college.
Brandon Garza, wide receiver for the Sharyland Rattlers, is the South Texas College Scholar Athlete of the Week.
There's a tendency in 32-5A to say it's the big three and then the stepchildren down the road. But right now, there's some teams in Brownsville that are starting to come on a little bit. Rivera had a big night. Hannah got a win against Veterans. And we will talk about them. But let's right now start with Harlingen Los Fresnos. It has the potential to be the game of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think one of these teams is going to play for the district title because they're going to play South for the title.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
but,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, but
or third.
Harlingen, they both played. Their common team is Lopez that they both played right now.
Right.
And Harlingen shut out Lopez. And
close, right? 45-8 or something. Like
yeah.
That. But
sorry.
It's all right.
But Los Fresnos gave up some points, but I think we saw from the video it was
a lot of second teamers. I think it was 59-35 is one of those basketball games. So you can tell something about that. What I really feel like is going to be the key to this game is which will continue to do the special teams and the magic scores and the whatnot, because we've talked about Harlingen's propensity to score touchdowns in odd ways and fun ways. Los Fresnos has done a lot of that this year. A lot of kick returns. Eli Cruz ran a kickoff back for a touchdown. They had 2 interception returns for a touchdown against Lopez. So, I mean, if you can make things happen that way, you don't have to have 6 or 7 touchdown drives.
And I think what you're going to see in this game is it's going to be defensive driven. We're going to finally see these offensives kind of slow down because they're playing finally some teams that actually play defense.
Some hitting, some defense. I really think it's going to be a great game. Now, Harlingen South obviously is off this week. They're in the same boat as McAllen. 5-0, got the off week. They played tremendous defense. Of course, they beat Porter last week. It was 37-0 at the end of the first quarter, 71-0. Boy, Porter is having a tough year. Hey, but they're not going to lose 47 in a row like they did from 1990 to 1995. That was the 6th worst team in the history of Texas high school football by losing streaks.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. 47 in a row. I was down at the Valley Morning Star in those days, and I almost kind of started secretly rooting for them to win. Which they eventually did. They beat Pace 10-7 in 1995.
Did you have that in your book, Border Ball?
Yes. Yeah, I think I did, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. You can get that book at Amazon.
Yeah, that's a free plug. You can also get my Pan American book if you want. The History of Bronx Basketball. It's not bad. Anyway.
And he's working on a basketball one for the Valley.
It'll be out probably about a year, I hope, man. This damn football season keeps me working so hard with these guys. I don't have a chance to write my books. Such is life.
Digress.
Indeed. It's always nice to digress a little bit, as long as you don't die in the grass. All right. So South is off. They're a heck of a football team. Boy, Bird Bowl is going to be something.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, look, I'm not saying Harlingen is the favorite in this game, but
you think Harlingen against Los Fresnos?
Yeah.
You think they're a favorite? They'd be a touchdown favorite, maybe 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, I think so. Right now, I think so.
But Los Fresnos gets up and down the field, man. They really do. It's going to be fun. I like to see that.
If you ask anybody, they're going to say, "Oh, they have Brandon Colon. He's the marquee guy." But they're not just going to him. They're running the ball.
William Cox.
They're playing D.
The quarterback runs the ball.
Yeah.
Of course, for Harlingen, you got a bunch of Brandon Colones, man.
Yeah.
You get that big 13 Gallegos. Brandon Vasquez has had an amazing game. Rosales is there. They got weapons galore. I think it's the game of the week. We don't know yet because it's Sunday, but I think it should be the game.
Oh, I think it is too. It has to be.
Now, there are another couple of games that we want to talk about. Brownsville Veterans against Rivera. Rivera was having a tough time, but Jaquil Evans got off big time. 296 and 5 touchdowns, and they had a big win, 54-17 over Pace. Now they're coming against the Veterans team that lost to Hannah.
Yeah. And I think, Jaquil was last year, he was our preseason All-Valley.
He's a fine player. He just, he's had a few nicks and cuts, and his team hasn't done as well. This was vindication for him, and I hope that him and his teammates enjoyed that because they've earned it.
Yeah, I mean, in most games that we've seen, especially like against, Economides, he's the one guy that everybody focuses on.
Or North.
Or was it North, yeah. One of the Edinburgh schools.
Yeah, one of those.
But, you felt for the kid because every time
he was getting popped, man. Bow, bow, bow.
Yeah.
Bow, bow, bow. He didn't get a chance to do anything.
And against some of those really good teams that they played early, he was getting popped in the backfield.
Nobody's running against North. You know how many yards North has given up in 5 games rushing? 111. Wow. That's it. 111 yards rushing. That's insane.
But
anyhow.
But in that district right now, the way that their schedule's working out, he could have a good year running.
I think he will. I think from here on out. Because you get a little momentum like that, and it's like skiing downhill. Now, Brownsville Veterans lost to Hannah 24-20. They came back and threw, the Eagles, came back and threw a 46-yard touchdown pass. I think it was Richard Martinez from Andres Lopez. And boy, in the last 3 minutes, and they won that game. And Hannah all of a sudden is starting to kind of creep up and say, we want to be that 4th team. If there are 3, if 3 have been decided, and it hasn't truly yet, then maybe it's Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the schedules, though, Lopez has already played 2 of the toughest teams that they're going to play in that district.
Right.
In Harlingen and in Los Fresnos. They're going to play Harlingen South, but the way their offense moves the ball, I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if anybody else is going to get that 4th seed other than them.
Well, I would say right now, veterans Hannah and Rivera have the shot. Right now, Pace and Porter. Pace actually can move the ball. They'll get some offensive going, but they haven't been able to stop people yet. Cisneros is a pretty good little quarterback, and they had a kid rush for 100. So you never know. But right now, it looks like Harlingen South, Los Fresnos, and which of those Brownsville schools? I'll tell you what, man, Lopez gets up and down the field, like you say. Marcos Castillo and Brownsville Veterans does too.
Yeah.
They'll score some points too.
Yeah, I think so.
So what we're looking for this week is to see which of those teams, Harlingen or Los Fresnos, is going to really come up to snuff, because that, I think, will put whoever wins that game will be riding high and waiting for Harlingen South. Interesting. Okay, now where do we go from here? That's the 5As.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do the 4As. We'll be back after a break, or we're going to take a break. We're not taking a break?
No, let's just go.
Let's just go.
Let's do it.
Well, I was at, it was a very white knee you just saw there. Yeah. I was at Mission Veterans for that Mercedes game, and let me tell you, it was one of the best games I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I got to see it online. We did the broadcast. Carlos Robledo and Alex Del Barrio did it. Man, talk about Mercedes jumped to that big lead, Mission Vets coming back, and then
the last minute. I'll tell you what, Rene Prestes is something else. That was the guy that replaced the kid who got hurt in the car wreck. You can read all about it if you have an hour on 956 Sports. He was so great. I mean, look, there were times when he just stood back there and picked them apart. Josh Goddard is the guy that caught 7 for 305 from Mercedes. They just bombed them, man. They bombed those corners to death. 71, 90, 44. They were up 3 touchdowns, and Vets was like, what in the world's going on here? But Veterans came back. You know why they came back? Because Santos Villarreal is the best quarterback in the Valley. That kid is some kind of something. He has the best instincts about when to go, when to stay. He's got a strong arm. He runs with power and speed and finesse. I've rarely seen a guy that's all around that good. I just wish he were a little bit bigger, because then he could play college football. I still think he can play in college at a defensive back or a receiver. He is fantastic, and he brought those guys back. And they brought him back. They took the lead, and with a minute to go, minute and a half, they missed a field goal. And down came Mercedes with a couple of bombs, 8 seconds left. It was a nutty game, just unbelievable.
Well, I know you have you feel a little bit you feel something for the way the snapping has been this year, right?
You have to get the snap. You have to get the hold. If you do, like for instance, Veterans kicker got a field goal blocked and got an extra point blocked. He's got a great leg, man. 14. I think it's Jorge is his name. That guy's an amazing kicker, but you got to have the ball in the right place. That's why it's vital to have a snapper. You remember, who's that kid from Edinburgh High a couple of years back? Big boy that went to Texas Southern, remember?
Oh, Zach Ferris.
Yeah, now Ferris was an amazing deep snapper, and that's what got him to college. So if you want to, find a place on a team and be the snapper, be the holder, along with other things, you got to get those kicks, guys. And in an area that's so good at soccer, there's no excuse for us not having great kickers.
Oh, I know. And we've seen that a lot. We've seen a lot of blocked kicks this year. A lot of field goals
that turn games around. Okay, Edinburgh High had a field goal blocked against North. Eric Salas got it. So there again, if you block kicks, I've always thought the teams should go for the punt block a little more, especially if it's more than 4th and 6 or 8, because if you give them 5 running into the kicker, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
15 is what you don't want.
And we saw that this weekend too. We saw 2 of them.
That's right. And so they got a couple of penalties, North did, for 5 yards for running into the kicker. One time he was blocked in, but you know what it does? It makes the kicker nervous. It makes the snapper nervous. It helps you win the field position battle, which I think eventually was the key to that ballgame.
Yeah, I think you see that like in college with Frank Beamer and Virginia Tech.
Boy, they used to block a ton of kicks. Now they can't even do much of it at all. It's amazing. Well, let's stick with this 4A and talk about Mercedes now. I feel like they've kind of gotten their act together real well. They got PSJ Southwest this week. They've got 3 winnable games in a row until they take on Ed Cats on the 25th of October. That's a good lick for the Tigers. They're on a roll right now.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything, this Mission Vets game put them back on track, because they lost some games, La Feria, but that was weather. The weather got called early. They lost to Cal Allen. But
here's what I say. Here's what I say about Mercedes. Okay, with that tragedy that happened to them, with that emotional thing they've had, that was the game that they needed. That whole thing, that 5 under helmets, I think that carried them through. Now they just got to relax, play good football, and see what happens the rest of the way.
All right, well, here we are with Coach Mike Uribe, and a big surprise to many people here. Of course, you all had a lot of confidence going into that game against Mission Veterans. One of the big reasons why is the play of Rene Presas. What have you all been doing with him to give him the confidence? Over 400 yards passing. How do you get him to play at that level?
Well, we never doubted in his abilities. We just had to get him comfortable in his position and comfortable in the game plan. We played a team that was very aggressive and very athletic, and we felt we had certain things that we needed to do. But and Rini said it the best. The protection really stepped up to give him time to throw. The receivers were able to make plays. So we feel it was a joint effort with him at the helm.
All right, Coach. You talk a little bit about perseverance all season long. Isaiah Garza, your quarterback, two-time All-District player, coming in, and then, of course, he has the car accident. How have you been able to keep this team together?
Well, we talk about dealing with adversity all the time. And when we say it, we just can't use words. It's got to mean something. This is probably one of the most adverse situations anybody's going to go through in a program. And so we had to step up to the plate, and we had to deal with this life situation like we deal with all other life situations. Even though this is a bigger, devastating situation, we have to deal with it with a positive, work hard, stay focused, and find a way to overcome.
All right, well, now you're moving on. You got PSJ Southwest coming up. You have the rest of your schedule. No one's going to be sleeping on the Mercedes Tigers now after that big victory over Mission Vets. So how do you keep the intensity? How do you keep things going with the paper?
Well, we understand we're only given so many opportunities in life, and every week we have 3 practices plus the game. And so if you look at it, we got 6 games left. That's 18 practices and 6 competitions, 24 times put on our helmet. And so we're going to take advantage of every one of those 24 times to get better.
All right, Coach, there he is. Coach Mike Uribe, head coach and athletic director of Mercedes Tigers, the 956sports.com Coach of the Week.
Okay, so that's Mercedes. They're on a roll. What do you think about Mission Vets now? They got a rebound from this game.
Yeah, I think Mission Vets is look. This is one of those games that it's an eye awakener for. We can't let a team get that kind of lead, and then we can't step off the gas.
Man, they had a great comeback, and it didn't work out. I still think they have a lot of good players. I was impressed with 6. Julian Mesa is a safety, and he was just killing people, man. That little guy, pound for pound, hits as hard as anybody in the Valley. He's fun to watch, and he gets a kick out of doing it, too. And the kids get energized when he goes in there and slugs somebody, and I mean legally, I don't mean slugs. That's a catalyst for that team, man. Well, as Gilpin's team, they play with emotion. What a great comeback. Now, let's see. Turn the page here, and who do they play? Who does Mission Veterans play now? Valley View. Okay, over there, I think they get back on track as long as they do everything right. They need to win because that was the start of district. They're 0-1. You don't want to be 0-2, as we say every week.
No, and Valley View lost a tough one in Mission, so I think that this is a good game for them. Just like Economies with La Jolla, this is one of those games that you like to see.
You turn the page, man. You got to turn the page. That was yesterday. Let's see what you have now. Okay, speaking of turning the page, it took me several hours to figure out whether Ed Couch won or lost last week. That's probably not a good sign for La Máquina.
No, and especially 2 weeks in a row. And they had to come back again this week. The week before didn't work out. This week it did, but double overtime.
You cannot continue to live dangerously like that. Now, bottom line is 1-0 in district is all that matters. But man, Roma was pretty feisty. We looked at those films. Those guys not that big this year. Remember they were real big on the line last year. But they're quick and they executed pretty well. They picked up a fumble. They picked off a pass. They had Ed Couch on their hind legs, man. 14-0 in the first half.
Yeah, and I think what you saw is that Orly Solis is everything.
He's tough, man. You know what he does? He goes laterally and then he goes forward quick. I mean, he'd be 8-9 yards downfield, but when he just made the cut, that guy's super fast like a bug.
What'd you call him during the
water bug?
Yeah, the water bug.
He's amazing. No wonder he had 460 yards in one game. Okay, so Ed Couch has to play Mission now. That's a tough game. Mm-hmm. Mission's got one of the best defenses. What year is it? Don't matter. 1980, 2002, one of the best defenses again. So against Ed Couch, I'm interested to see. I'm not going to judge the Yellow Jackets right now. Everybody's down on them. You go to these message things and people are like, they're not that good. Let's just see. Let's see how they come back against Mission because that team's got a lot of pride. I expect them to make a very good effort against Mission.
Oh, yeah. Look, them coming back against Roma showed a lot of guts, a lot of determination because the week before, it didn't work out. And I think if you watch the highlights, Isaac Martinez at the end,
they wanted it. They had to have it. Laredo ran it. In other words, it was just strange to see Ed Couch struggling with Roma. Now maybe things are different than they were in the past, but in Roma, this is one of the only teams that's never made the playoffs, man. But they took Ed Couch. I thought they had him. In fact, I had heard from someone that they lost, and I was just stunned driving along. I'm like, you're kidding me. Incredible. Kudos to Roma, who now goes to Rio, and Rio found that magic last week, won 34-0 against PSJ Southwest. So that's a better game than it looked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Look, I think Roma, from what they did against Ed Couch, if they can carry that on.
Oh, man.
they're at least going to be the third or fourth seed in that district.
That's a playoff performance, man. Absolutely. Well, there were some amazing comebacks this week, right, or last week. One of them was in that Ed Couch game, but another one was in Raymondville and Rio Hondo. Did you read the details on that game? Raymondville was down 30-7. Rio Hondo was killing them, man. And they scored 34 points in a row, did the Bearcats, ended up winning 41-30. You have to be really excited if you're Raymondville, and if you're Rio Hondo, you got to be going, man, how did we let that happen?
Yeah, the good thing is it's not a district game.
It's never a district game. They'll be playing district in December.
Yeah, they've got a ton of non-district games. So look, that game is just it's a learning curve.
An aberration, they say, because Rio Hondo put it all together for 3 quarters, man. But Raymondville scored 27 points in the fourth. They got Rosales, Valladares. They took the lead on a pass to Spencer Akers. Now, their quarterback, Guillermo Esparza, is having some good ball games. He don't get a lot of credit out there because we don't talk as much maybe about 3As, but he's had a good season. He had 180 yards against them.
I'm a big Rio Hondo fan ever since,
giving up too many points. Yeah.
But, it's the old teams, they don't do that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They don't let anybody back. And I think this is one of those good games that they can realize, hey, it's 4 quarters, no matter what the score.
Everybody says 4 quarters, finish. How do you accomplish that? In other words, what's missing? Is it conditioning when you get blown out in the fourth quarter like that? Is it mental? Of course, every situation is different, but I guess what you're saying is they have to ask themselves, how did that happen? And let's make sure that thing doesn't ever happen again.
Yeah, I think it's a mental thing, especially when you're up that much.
Golly, they lost 41-30. So Raymondville now is at La Feria. Let's face it, that is a 3A game of the week because both are, Raymondville 3-2, La Feria 4-1. I added up. The final score should be 34-33 because that's what they're averaging. It's going to be an exciting offensive game.
Wow.
Yeah, La Feria, man, they're nobody's fool this year. They have a good team. Raymondville, boy, they've been up and down, but boy, it seems like they can really score points in a hurry.
Yeah, and La Feria is, they played 4A teams really strong.
Beat 4A.
Yeah, they in the scrimmages they played 5As.
They did.
So.
And they blew out Santa Maria, who by the way was 3-0 before that game, and they got some good players. They're gonna have a chance to win that little A district. Okay, so La Feria, Raymondville. Gruya comes off the win or the loss to Port Isabel. They got Hidalgo at home. I really still think the Gators are headed for the playoffs big time.
Oh, I think so too. I think they're maybe the second best team down here in 3A.
Peña Blanca was not able to run the ball. He had 110 passing, but he only rushed for like 10 or 12 times for 20 something. So, that's Port Isabel though.
Yeah,
that's Port Isabel defense. Hidalgo defense is going to present a little bit different of a picture. I think Gruya has a pretty good shot there. That PI team now is on the road at Zapata. That could be gruesome.
Yeah.
Now, no offenses. I seem like I pick on Zapata every week. I apologize for that. Lo siento. No, it's my fault.
But hey, look, it's a long trip for him too. It's not a.
You get some great barbecue, I think.
Yeah, but you go all the way out there, and Zapata is different.
It's like going to Laredo.
When you don't think you're going to beat them, you beat them. And then when you think you can beat them, it doesn't.
They
happen.
had some teams back in the day. They've got that good running back, but they, I think they're what? Let's see, where is Zapata? They're 2-3. They're not incredible. They beat Crystal City, but let's face it. That ain't exactly the world's most incredible result. You wouldn't expect PI to have any problem with Zapata, but let's see if that long drive has anything to do with that. Rio Hondo and Lyford. So Rio Hondo comes off that loss to Raymondville against a Lyford team that gave up 621 yards and 69 points. I'm very surprised at the way Lyford has struggled this year because that's a good football program with a great staff.
I think we saw, at the beginning of the year, we thought, Scott Arnold is, whipping the ball against, who was it, St. Joe?
Yeah.
And they really haven't been able to stop anybody.
No. He came back. Arnold did and had 275 last week, but they're 0-5. And of course, Rio Hondo's got to be smarting after that loss. So one of these teams has got to get it together. I have a feeling it might be the Bobcats.
I think so too.
Yeah. What about Progreso and La Villa? Speaking of, I like the small schools, man. I know we're going overtime, but you know what? These teams deserve some credit too. Progreso is doing good. Like I said, we're going out there. If they make the playoffs, man, we're going to go out there with the cameras and we're going to do it. And somebody will.
Well, they've always had athletes. They just never been able to put it together for the entire season.
It's hard for them to keep kids, and it's hard for them to keep kids in the summer because they all work or they go upstate to work. So I I'm excited for them. But against La Villa, they beat Bruni 46-6. I was all worried about the Bruni Badgers. They were a pushover, man. Give me a break. Forget about Bruni. Now it's Progreso. That's going to be a pretty good game.
Yeah, and I think everybody thought that La Villa was going to, they started slow, but look at them now.
Yeah, they're rolling. And look, if you look at winning percentages the last 10 years, they're right up there. They've had a really good run. Okay, now Monte Alto against MMA. I know you're like, why are we talking about them? Because the kids work hard and it's good football. MMA is having a tough year. They're 0-4. They haven't been close. Monte Alto started to get together. They beat Benavides. So let's see what they do there.
Yeah, I like their logo. I like their mascot.
I know you should. Yeah, the Blue Devils, right? Now Santa Maria comes off that loss. They play Losada. Did you know that Losada has a football team? Well, you should, because they're right in the hunt here. They host Santa Maria. I think that La Feria may have beaten Santa Maria 42-0, but that's because it's a 3A team against a 1A. I think that against a team of their own level, they're going to get back to scoring some points and having some yards. They got that Felix Cantu guy. They got another kid, Isaac Garcia, I think is his name. So they've got some kids who can play.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to get out to Santa Maria too.
Yeah.
We'll do some bird hunting out there and we'll go see a football game. Well, we're almost ready to get out of here, cut and run, because the week is coming. And here's the thing I want to do, Jake. I want to talk about the only Valley team we haven't mentioned so far. Not St. Joe, you mentioned it. That's right. But Far Oratory, they have a team too, and they play at London, Corpus Christi, London. I'm going to be rooting for those guys, man. I want to see them turn it around and get a win.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on our schedule. I have yet to go out to see a game ever.
When I moved down here in 1912, or whenever it was, I made it my business to go to every place, every school, see every team, but that's one team I haven't seen yet. But I'm getting out there one of these days. It may not be this year, but what is the Oratory mascot? Do we know?
I don't have a clue.
Okay, we'll have it for you next week. I want them to win, and we're going to talk them up. We're going to get some stats in those guys. Now, the only thing we have left is to throw it to one more. We're going to do one more pitch here. We're going to congratulate our Coach of the Week, Mike Uribe at Mercedes. Outstanding win. You guys keep the faith over there, man. I know it's not easy. And Isaiah, we're with you, man.
Okay, let's bring it back. We'll say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know what?
Sponsors?
Yeah, sponsors.
Okay.
All right, and 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, Jake, we told everybody we were going to go away, but since it's the web, we can stay here all night. I don't really think that you want to. I don't even think that I want to. Yeah, your wife does have a problem with that, and so will mine. Bottom line is, let's wind it up by talking about the people who make it happen here for us.
Yeah, special thanks to McDonald's, South Texas College, and the Paint Auto Group. Without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to do this show and get all the video for all this stuff that we're doing.
Hey, the community is always part of this, man. To me, it's a symbiotic relationship. Boring academic lecture ahead, but a symbiotic. We like the sponsors. We love what we do, and that's cool. Now, what else is there? Is that it?
That's it. You can go online and check out our McDonald's Plays of the Week. Everything that we're doing right here. This week we're actually going to break it up into sections on the web after this also. So you'll be able to see it by district, because a lot of people were wondering.
You're going to put those cheerleader and band and fan picks up too?
Yep.
When do those usually go up?
They usually go up on Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay, we'll be looking for those. Something every day on this channel, on this website, whatever you want to call it. We love what we do. Greg Selber, Jake Berry, the show is done.